Your dog doesn't give awards, but when they truly love you, when they see you as family, they do something far more powerful. Behaviorists have found that dogs reserve certain actions for only one or two people in their entire lives, and some of these signs are easy to miss. Love nibbles. Has your dog ever gently grabbed your hand with their mouth for no clear reason? It's confusing. It almost feels wrong. They're calm. There's no growling, no aggression, just your hand in their mouth. What is that? At first glance, it might look like bad behavior, something you're supposed to correct. But in many cases, it's actually the opposite. This is one of the highest honors a dog can give. Let's break it down. From the time they're tiny puppies, dogs play with their mouths. It's how they bond, and through that play, they learn bite inhibition, how to control their force. When a pup bites too hard, the game ends. So they learn where the line is, not just physically, but socially. As adults, that skill doesn't vanish. In fact, studies show dogs have incredibly fine control over their bite strength, even during high-energy play. So when your dog mouths your hand gently, they're being very intentional. They know exactly what they're doing. And here's where it gets personal. Most dogs don't do this with strangers, or even with everyone in the household, including other dogs. This kind of behavior is often saved for one specific person, someone they've chosen, someone they trust enough to share this primal, instinctive gesture with. So yes, it feels odd, but when your dog softly bites you, they're actually inviting you in. They're saying, I know how to hurt, and I'm choosing not to. I know how to play, and I want to play with you. Licking your ears or nose. Most dogs lick their owners. It's one of the first signs of affection people recognize. But some dogs take it further. They don't just lick your hand after a meal or your face when you walk in the door. They go for something more specific, your ears or your nose. And those particular spots, they say something very different. In wild dog and wolf packs, ear licking serves a dual role. It reinforces social structure. Lower-ranking members will lick the ears of more dominant ones, but it's also something that happens only between trusted individuals. It's not a general greeting. It's reserved, deliberate, and often repeated between bonded pairs. That behavior doesn't disappear in domestic dogs, and they don't offer it to everyone. Many dogs will eagerly greet guests or other household members, but licking the ears or nose is different. It tends to happen with just one person, the one they feel closest to. But why those spots? Why ears and nose? Unlike hands or legs, these areas are highly sensitive, both physically and socially. The ears and nose are full of nerve endings, exposed and require close-range contact. A dog has to move slowly and deliberately to reach them. It's not something they can do in passing. They have to be near your face, they have to feel safe, and they have to believe you won't pull away. It's a form of contact they instinctively reserve for deep bonding, not because of what those parts mean symbolically, but because of what they require behaviorally: proximity, permission, and trust. Some dogs even develop a preference for one specific ear. That's not random. According to research in laterality, asymmetries of body, brain, and cognition, dogs can display brain lateralization, meaning they tend to favor one side of the body over the other, much like humans being left or right-handed. If your dog always approaches from your right or consistently focuses on one ear, they may be neurologically wired that way. Interestingly, some researchers believe lateralization isn't just physical. It may reflect emotional processing. The left side of the brain, which controls the right side of the body, is associated with routine and positive emotional states, while the right hemisphere, controlling the left side, is linked to more cautious or vigilant behavior. So if your dog consistently licks your right ear, they may be approaching from a state of comfort, trust, and familiarity. If it's your left, it could mean they're more focused, attentive, even protective. Then their scent, And this is where things get even more personal. Alexandra Horowitz, a leading canine cognition researcher, explains that a dog's nose can detect chemical traces in concentrations as low as parts per trillion. That means your dog can tell the difference between your two years, not just by shape or angle, but by tiny shifts in skin chemistry. 1 year might produce slightly more sweat, have a different pH, or hold trace amounts of wax your dog's nose picks up. They're not just licking, they're investigating you, down to the smallest detail. That's why they return to the same spot again and again. Not because it smells strange, but because it's familiar. It's personal. It's yours. Most people will never experience this kind of focused attention from a dog. If your dog targets your ears or nose specifically, that's them choosing the most intimate points of contact and choosing you to share them with. Sleeping with their back to you, facing the door. You're lying in bed, your dog jumps up, circles once or twice, then settles, back pressed firmly against you, head facing the door. They're close, but not curled up in your arms, not gazing into your face. They've turned away from you, and that doesn't feel like affection. It feels distant, but it's not. In fact, among dogs, this might be one of the highest compliments you'll ever receive. More than cuddling, more than lying nose to nose. So why this position? The answer starts almost 3,000 years ago. In ancient Rome, war dogs, especially mastiffs, were trained to sleep back to back with their soldiers, not curled together in comfort, but aligned like a formation. The goal was simple. If anything moved during the night, the dog would sense it first. That way the human never had to. The dog faced the danger, the soldier rested. That instinct didn't vanish with time. Modern dogs are strategic sleepers. Even when they seem completely relaxed, their body positions are intentional. When a dog places their back to you and positions themselves toward the exit, they're placing themselves between you and anything that might come through that door. And here's what matters most. Dogs don't do this for everyone. You may have noticed that not all dogs sleep like this. Even within a household, they don't adopt this position with just anyone. It's typically reserved for the person they feel most responsible for. Some dogs will sigh or grunt before settling into this position, a kind of exhale before going on duty. If your dog sleeps like this with you, it means something most people never realize. They've assigned themselves the role of your silent guardian. Letting you touch their paws. In the dog world, paws are sacred, not in a religious way. I'm not saying their cute little feet are some kind of holy artifact, but because they are highly sensitive. Paws are packed with nerve endings that act like finely tuned sensors. They help dogs detect vibrations, temperature shifts, and subtle ground changes. That's why trainers sometimes call them earth whiskers. Paws are part of how dogs read their environment. But sensitivity isn't the only reason dogs guard their feet. In the wild, an injured paw could mean death. A wounded dog can't run, can't hunt, can't defend themselves. So even today, domesticated dogs still instinctively protect their limbs. It's part of their survival code. Remember the ancient Roman training? War dogs were taught to avoid exposing their paws during rest. Dogs that kept their limbs tucked and protected were more likely to survive. That preference stuck. Thousands of years later, dogs still tuck their paws under their bodies when they sleep. They still recoil when a paw is handled. That's why it means something when a dog lets you in. If your dog gives you their paw or lets you trim their nails without resisting, they are overriding a deep primal instinct for you. They've decided you're safe enough to ignore everything their body is telling them. But some dogs go even further. Copycat. There's one behavior so subtle, most people overlook it. And yet, it's one of the clearest signs of emotional connection a dog can give. Not even monkeys do it, or apes, or any of our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, but dogs do. It's called yawn contagion. It refers to the involuntary response of yawning after seeing or hearing someone else yawn, something that in social species is strongly linked to empathy and emotional closeness. Yawning, in this context, isn't about being tired. It's a subconscious response, a sign that one nervous system is syncing up with another. But one study found something even more surprising. In 2013, researchers in Japan designed a test. Each dog would be exposed to two different audio recordings, one of their owner yawning and another of a stranger doing the same thing. The outcome? Most dogs yawned only after hearing their owners yawn, but showed little to no reaction when a stranger did the same. The dogs weren't reacting to a sound. They were reacting to someone they knew, someone they trusted. The researchers concluded that the dogs weren't just observing their owners. They were syncing to their emotional state. And that same mirroring shows up in other ways too. Some dogs tilt their heads when you change tone. Others show signs of stress when you're anxious or mimic your posture without prompting. So when a dog chooses to mirror your expressions, match your yawns, or stay by your side without being asked, it's emotional tracking. Reinforced by biology, refined by bond. And they're adjusting themselves, consciously or not, to keep in step with you. Refusing to leave when you're upset. When you're crying, panicking, or ill and your dog stays glued to your side, they're doing more than offering comfort. They're stepping into their most loyal role. They have sworn duty to be at your side when you need them most, to respect the oath of man's best friend. A 2020 study published in Learning and Behavior found that dogs experience increased heart rate and stress when they hear their human cry. But even though it causes them distress, most dogs will push through doors or solve simple puzzles to reach their crying owner. There are countless verified stories of dogs acting as protectors without training. One Labrador in Oregon shattered a glass window to reach his owner during a seizure. Another dog opened a refrigerator door to retrieve life-saving insulin. We've all heard stories like this. You may well be someone who's been on the receiving end of such dog devotion. And if you have, please do share your story in the comments. We'd love to read it. One of the most iconic true stories of a dog going above and beyond for a distressed owner is the legendary story of Kabang from the Philippines, who, as far as I'm concerned, is the real-world answer to Lassie or Crypto. In 2011, in Zamboanga City, Philippines, this remarkable dog leapt into the path of a speeding motorcycle to stop it from hitting two young girls. Two girls. It felt honor-bound to thank its ancient Roman training, the daughter and niece of his owner, whom he'd often play with. The girls were crossing a busy road when a motorcycle approached at high speed. Kabang, without hesitation, ran into the bike's path, causing a crash that saved the children's lives. You'll be very happy to hear, if you aren't already aware of the story, that after a few surgeries, Kabang survived. Incredibly, and do excuse the brief tangent, but the story of Kabang is truly remarkable. The people of the Philippines chose to celebrate Kabang as a hero. Quite rightly, I'd say. When Kabang sadly passed away of natural causes 10 years later, a statue was even erected in their honor. And this sort of habit also manifests in small, everyday ways, not just in these big, viral ways. If you have the flu and your dog refuses to leave your side, they're doing so because of the very same impulse that led Kabang to jump in front of that bike. That behavior is driven by intense attachment. If your dog refuses to leave you alone when you're hunting, they're honoring you the only way they know how, by being there, not moving, not leaving, just staying no matter what. Bringing you the prize. Some dogs will drag a soggy tennis ball onto your lap. Others might drop a shredded squeaky toy onto your pillow. If you've ever wondered why your dog insists on sharing their prized possession with you, that's not just a game. Far from it. Though cards on the table, or should that be tennis ball on the lap, it might also be that. But in dog culture, resource sharing is a big deal. They don't have much, but what they have is theirs. Whether it's a toy, a bone, or that sock you lost 5 years ago. Their treasures are theirs, and they will hoard them like their life depends on it. Guarding it like it is gold, and they're Smog. But Smog wouldn't just casually hand some golden coins over to Bilbo, would he? No, he wouldn't. But your dog might sometimes present you with that slobber-covered tennis ball or those slippers you got for Christmas that are now decorated with teeth marks. We all share resources with those we love and respect. One sister might let another borrow her handbag, or two people fighting for survival on the desert island might share what little food they have. When your dog brings you one of their prized possessions, they are honoring you by welcoming you into the inner circle of people who are allowed access to those resources. Now granted, you don't have need for a tennis ball that's been chewed so hard not even Serena Williams could use it. But that's not the point. The fact is, that's all they have, and they're willing to share it with you. They're willing for you to have it. Even in packs, dogs do not casually offer toys to just anyone. If your dog picks up a favorite toy and presents it to you, especially without prompting, they are extending a serious honor. They're saying you matter more than the toy, that you rank high enough to be trusted with treasure. It means they know they can lean on you. And sometimes they mean that literally. Seg time. Pressing foreheads or leaning into you. When your dog gently presses their forehead into yours or leans their full body weight against you, that's not just cuddling. Although it also is that, but it's awesome. But it is a sense of calming. And it's an incredibly personal and honor-filled act. Your dog's face stinks, but in a good way. Their face and neck are fit to burst with scent glands. Everything that rubs with that face gets covered in that smell. It's their version of scribbling a signature all over everything to claim it as theirs. So when they do this, they're sort of claiming you as belonging to them. In much the same way that the perforated wet tennis ball from the prior example is. That might seem like a possessive thing to do, rather than a way of honoring you. But that's just not the case. Puppies do this with their mothers for reassurance. So when your dog chooses to lean into your leg or rest their head against your chest, they are recreating something they would normally do only with their mums. If being told, "You are my new mum now," is not the greatest honor in the world, then truly nothing is. In that moment, all that Roman training we've been talking about kind of vanishes. But they are no longer in attack mode or defense mode. They simply want what their mother has, and they've chosen you to be her. Yeah, you can screw your gold medal. That's better any day of the week. Your dog gives you everything, but most owners forget these 9 simple things that truly matter. Don't miss this.